briefing for Friday the 30th of June. I'm Stephen Ridgway. New piece of ransomware to keep an eye out for. Relatively new in the Windows world and quite new migrating into the Linux world. So Akira, AKIRA, which apparently is named after a late 80s Japanese anime. Cult classic featuring a psychopathic biker, but not me. Which I can do most of those, but I'm not Japanese. There we are. So anyway, Akira has been seen in the Windows world for a while. Is now beginning to migrate over into Linux world. So there are various forms of ransomware out there. It is worth being aware of the ones that are up and coming. It works by effectively, although it's been written using things like Microsoft Visual C++. So it's clearly being ported by a team that are fundamentally Windows focused, but as I think we all know now, I think it's probably the majority of actual servers these days are running on Linux. I think gone are the days when Microsoft had the data center as well as the desktop. Although I'm sure that anybody Microsoft there would disagree with me on that point, but there we are. They've got a big chunk of cloud, so that's not bad going. So anyway, yeah, it's as it were being ported from one to the other. It does the usual sort of stuff. It effectively, using some API functions, finds files to encrypts those files. One of the things about it that stands out is that it uses Microsoft's enhanced RSA and AES cryptographic provider rather than some of the less some of the less, how do you say it? It's not that they're less good, but some of the other cryptographic features that have been used in malware are simply not as robust as that. So it is good encryption. It would, I suspect, be quite difficult to without the keys to break this. So watch out for that. Normal stuff about ransomware to bear in mind. Make sure you've got backups of devices that are critical to your business. Make sure you understand what's critical to your business, and that isn't the same normally as what IT thinks is critical to the business. So make sure your disaster recovery plans are good, but make sure that your disaster recovery plans align with your business continuity planning, because standing up the tech is not the same as having the business actually running and functioning properly. But yeah, make sure you've got backups of all the critical stuff. Make sure you've tested restoring them so that you actually know that if you do have to rebuild, you have got a process that you can invoke that is going to actually work. Place I worked at a few years ago would do disaster recovery tests 4 times a year, and that would involve things like simulating catastrophic failure of a whole data center and bringing up the entire show in the warm data center. The reason that we did it so regularly was because you need the processes to be fresh in the minds of the people that enact them, and also over 3 months, enough changes that something will break. Something won't stand up right and won't work properly because during the last 3 months, stuff will have changed. But it's normally small enough amounts of stuff that you can take that away, work out what went wrong, and fix it, ready for the next one when something else will have changed and won't work quite right. So make sure that you've got backups. Make sure that those backups are stored make sure that they're stored somewhere where ransomware isn't going to find them as part of the ransomware attack. So good old-fashioned restores, backup to tape would mitigate these sorts of things very well. Unfortunately, it just isn't up to it these days. For the recovery time objectives are now too short, and the backup slots are now too short, the amount of data too big, and so on. So it doesn't work. But the concept is, don't leave your backups in your data center plugged into the network alongside all of the things that are going to get encrypted, because then your backups will get encrypted and then you're stuffed. Also worth, I was thinking about ransomware, also worth just sort of quick reminder that, turn on automatic patching, or at least have a very aggressive patching patching process in the organization. Gone are the days when you can spend a month testing things to see whether the patch might break some random stuff. Once a patch is out, the patch is out probably because there's an exploit either active or just down the line, which will come and get you. So keep on top of your patching, keep your antivirus, your anti-malware, endpoint protection software up to date, and have a keen eye on phishing, as a vast majority of ransomware attacks start somewhere or have phishing in the path somewhere. So on other matters, Apple is objecting to the UK online safety bill, and I have some sympathy with. I can see both sides of the argument here, but Apple has come down on the this will do more harm than good. There are 80 other technology experts and organisations who are also appealing to UK lawmakers to consider the broader aspects of the bill. So, it's touted in the UK. It's touted as being, the solution to all, criminal activity on the internet, and especially, things like child abuse and whatever it may be. I think that my fundamental concern with this is that you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So if we force tech providers to give law enforcement a backdoor onto systems, or in fact enforce the tech provider to have access to your data, there are a couple of things that happen there. The first thing is criminals will just go away and come up with something that doesn't comply with the law, because they're criminals, So it won't it will have a temporary impact on the distribution of abusive material. It won't have a long-term impact on it, because people doing this stuff know it's illegal. They know that they're dodgy fuckers, and they will simply move to platforms that are not Facebook, WhatsApp, Apple iMessages, and all the rest of it. They will just move this stuff to platforms where there is end-to-end encryption. It is also concerning that if our government, who we are supposed to trust, we'll say nothing about COVID, but we are supposed to trust our government to look after our interests. Well, I don't think our government actually looks after our interests particularly well anyway. I think they look after their own interests at the expense of the voters, rather than. But that isn't a left, right, whatever statement. I think it's just generally in the UK at the moment, the political classes are very detached from the people in in the UK. So what are they going to do if they've got access to your data? Well, I mean, you could say they will look after it nicely, and they'll only go snooping into you if they think you're a criminal. Well, I don't believe it. Track record at the moment is if there's information out there, they'll grab it. So, I don't think that's a good thing at all. And secondly, law enforcement around the world and government agencies around the world have not got a good track record of keeping their access to things safe from criminals using their access to things. NSO Group, great example of here's something that can be used to target some really nasty people in the world, and also if it gets sold to the wrong people, it can get used to target political opposition, human rights groups, you name it. So it is not a good thing. I think the online safety bill, I think there's a lot of hot air being spoken about it. I think that potentially the ministers responsible for it may have good intentions, but I think they completely and totally fail to understand the impact of what they're trying to do, which would be par for the course, seeing as over the last 2 or 3 years, understanding the impact of what they're doing doesn't seem to be very high on the priority lists for the UK government. That's a proper rant today. Anyway, some good news. Proton. So, those of you who care about privacy, read last article. Proton Mail, secure mail, properly secure. We're generally agreed to be one of the better systems if privacy is something that is important to you. Proton have launched various other complementary services, but one of the ones which is coming soon, if not already there, could be already there, is an open source password manager. So Proton Pass, it's an open source, free to use password manager that's available as a browser extension or a mobile app on Android or iOS. So that will complement their Proton Mail email service and the Proton VPN service. They also, by the way, have a Proton Drive cloud storage service. If you are, keen on using this particular stuff, I like it. I think they're doing a good job. I think their heart's in the right place, and they are applying some good technical controls around what they're doing. So it works as they say. This stuff will help you. So they say it's free and whatever. I mean, there are some features that you pay for, but the features are actually pretty cheap. Unlimited 2FA and private email addresses. You get a Proton Pass Plus, which costs $1 a month on an annual charge, which will rise to $3.99 a month. This stuff is not going to break the bank. So if you are looking for a password manager and you're a fan of open source software, this is definitely one that I would consider having a look at. So that is all from me for today. We're finishing the week on a rant, but never mind. So I am going to be back on Monday, so I hope you all have a really good weekend, and I'll speak to you again on Monday.